with worry and concern over whether those millions of people will be able to buy food for their families in November. We take a look at the human toll of that uncertainty. As low-income Americans brace for what's next, thousands of paid staff and volunteers are stepping up to do what they can at food pantries, religious organizations, and other distribution centers set up to help the hungry. Roselle Reyes reports.
Right now, times are tough for everybody. And it's going to get even harder because of the government shutdown. And they don't really seem to care.
Every other Saturday in the basement of Central Christian Church in downtown Indianapolis, this food pantry opens its doors to 45 to 50 households. This week, that number rose to more than 75, as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP benefits, are anticipated to lapse on November 1st. This is the latest blow to those already affected by the ongoing government shutdown and to low-income families struggling to make ends meet.
For me personally, I think I can absorb it because I'm one. But please, I've got to harken back to the families, man. What do you think they're going to go through? You know?
In Indiana, nearly 600,000 people rely on SNAP to put food on the table. Soon, there is growing concern that food banks will not be able to provide food for everyone in need, as they are already stretched thin.
What we know about food insecurity in this country is that volunteer food pantries like ours and others cannot meet the need. SNAP is an essential piece of meeting the food need in the United States. And SNAP is being cut. It's very tragic. And so we are concerned about sustainability.
The same situation can be seen across the country. In Northwest Missouri, United Way of Greater St. Joseph hosted a Caring Connection event where volunteers assembled 300 meal kits for families. But they admit their efforts are not enough.
What we're doing today are some meal kits, and we recognize that that's just like a drop in a bucket. It's one dinner. It is not replacing the benefits, but we hope it's a little bit of stress relief.
United Way is working with several local organizations in the St. Joseph area to have more meal kit prep events in the future. Meanwhile, volunteers voiced that they have already seen the impact of SNAP benefits being restricted.
My main concern is for people who really can't work as much and who really need it and have like big families, maybe 3 to 5 mouths to feed, and you now have to come out of pocket for all those things you almost get assisted from. This is going to be a big scare.
Miles away in Michigan, residents lined up their cars at Woodside Bible Church to get much-needed food items. An estimated 1.4 million Michiganders could see their food assistance benefits cut off.
Please, please, we definitely need this. We definitely need it. And it's helping us out a lot, and it's, for the kids to, get off to school, they have something to eat, when they get home, and we need this food.
Along with residents, Forgotten Harvest, Metro Detroit's leading food rescue nonprofit organization, is also feeling the pressure. Michigan food banks recently lost nearly 3 million pounds of food in canceled deliveries, as $500 million was cut in funding for their Commodity Credit Corporation back in March. That program, which falls under the U.S. Department of Agriculture, provides food to food banks and other emergency food providers.
We'll lean on our supporters, whether it be our food donors or our financial donors. We're going to really have to lean into the community support that we need to be able to help us get through this difficult time for everybody.
In North Dakota, where 57,000 people are set to lose their SNAP benefits, the Great Plains Food Bank sent out a plea for donations, urging the public to help address the rise in food insecurity in the region.
To prepare for the possibility of SNAP pause, we are working with our local partners in all of the communities, shelters, soup kitchens, pantries.
Their goal is to distribute an additional 1 million pounds of food. The food bank is also considering starting mobile distribution routes and fundraising to ensure SNAP recipients still have access to food. In Maryland, food banks and soup kitchens are already seeing a spike in new clients.
We are seeing a lot of non-traditional clients in both to come to Beans and Bread throughout the year. So people who would never have even thought about utilizing a day resource and are now coming to receive food bag support or access to health care.
Beans and Bread, a resource center run by St. Vincent de Paul of Baltimore, provides meals and groceries to those in need.
Here at Beans and Bread, they usually serve about 200 meals a day. But since the shutdown, they've been seeing more and more people coming in.
Today has been crazy. It's the very end of the month, and which is always busier, but today has been extremely busy. So I think it's already taking its toll, the shutdown and the lack of food.
According to their data, 1 in 8 people in Maryland and 1 in 4 in Baltimore City are food insecure.
So now that SNAP benefits are about to lose funding, do you anticipate more people wanting to get a bag soon?
Yes, we have geared up to get ready for November. Before, we would give maybe 2 bags a day. Now we're giving 8 to 12.
With 700,000 Marylanders expected to run out of SNAP benefits, Beans and Bread is currently asking for more donations and volunteers to brace for the impact. In a statement, Archbishop William Lori of the Archdiocese of Baltimore said, "Government shutdowns have far-reaching consequences, but they have a particularly heavy toll on the most vulnerable among us." He stated, "When vital government services are interrupted or delayed, the result is more than an inconvenience. It can mean hunger, anxiety, and hardship for our brothers and sisters in need." He reminded the people of Maryland that archdiocesan ministries remain open and active. He said, "Let us continue to be people of hope, united in prayer, steadfast in charity, and faithful in our care for the most vulnerable among us." Roselle, Reyes, EWTN News in Depth.
As the government shutdown grinds on and a potential loss of SNAP food benefits looms, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops went on the record this week with strong commentary. U.S. Bishops Conference President Archbishop Timothy Broglio wrote, "U.S. bishops are deeply alarmed that essential programs that support the common good, such as SNAP, may be interrupted. This would be catastrophic for families and individuals who rely on SNAP to put food on the table and places the burdens of the shutdown most heavily on the poor and vulnerable of our nation, who are the least able to move forward. This consequence is unjust and unacceptable." On behalf of the bishops, Broglio pleaded with lawmakers and the administration to work in a bipartisan way to quickly end the government shutdown and fund life-saving programs. For an inside look into how the expiration of federal food stamp funding is impacting a state with one of the highest poverty rates, we turn to our first guest. Archbishop John Wester leads the Archdiocese of Santa Fe in New Mexico. New Mexico has the highest SNAP participation rate in the nation, with 21% of the population receiving SNAP benefits. Thank you so much for being with us. First, can you offer a quick reaction to this political moment we find ourselves in and the reality that federal funding for SNAP has expired amid this ongoing, now more than a month-long government shutdown?
Yes, Catherine, we're very anxious here in New Mexico and hoping that the shutdown will end soon. We realize that many people are going to be affected by this, and so we're praying hard. I know it's a complicated matter and a lot to it, but we're just praying hard that we can get the government back and running again soon.
Well, as I mentioned in your introduction, 21% of New Mexico's population receives SNAP benefits. That is approximately 460,000 New Mexicans, the highest participation rate in the nation. The state announced this week it will provide $30 million in state dollars to ensure that New Mexicans can continue receiving food benefits amid the shutdown. But Your Excellency, what specifically is the church in New Mexico doing to respond to this immediate need?
Well, first of all, I'd say that the church, the New Mexico Conference of Catholic Bishops, Bishop Baltaquino, Bishop Wall, and I, we've been advocating mainly through Alan Sanchez, who is our director of the Catholic Conference here, for the government to help in any way they can. And so we're quite pleased that they've come up with the $30 million for the first 2 weeks of November to help those who are on SNAP benefits. So that's one of the first things we've done. And secondly, we work hard in our own parishes, the St. Vincent de Paul Society, for example, food banks, Felix Pantry is one example, to have food banks where people can come and get food. And it's done in a very beautiful way, really respecting their dignity and helping them come and shop as they wish and then to leave with their groceries. So we've done a lot, and it kind of more in a long-term solution. We've had, as you probably know, Catherine, Alan runs the the wonderful center that visits about over 600 families a week for families who have children in the womb to 3 years old. And they help them with health, nutrition, best practices. These good practices help people to come out of poverty and to live more productive lives. So we do all that we can to help them.
And I'd love to get into that more in just a moment, but just to stay on that point, with so many Americans who are reliant on food stamps, this week's news has renewed debate and discussion about better ways to lift up our brothers and sisters up out of poverty so they're not so dependent on the federal government for basic needs. Can you speak more about how the Catholic Church in New Mexico is helping to lead in this way to help to provide long-term solutions outside of the immediate food assistance that's needed this week?
Well, that's right. The jobs are so important. Here in New Mexico, of course, we don't have a lot of the jobs that we might see, for example, in Nevada, Colorado, Utah, Arizona. So that is a problem. We have a very stubborn poverty here. We have violent crime and addiction. So these are things that the church tries to address as best we can. We work mainly by advocating for the poor with our state legislature. Our Catholic Conference works hard in that regard. I think that, again, it's not easy. We ourselves just coming out of bankruptcy a few years ago, so we're struggling ourselves as an archdiocese. But we're very conscious of the need, and we do all that we can to help people in that regard.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, New Mexico's child poverty rate was the highest among all states. In 2023, nearly 1 in 4 New Mexican children under the age of 18 years lived in poverty. That is a sobering statistic. Tell us more about the Catholic Parenting Partnership the Church in New Mexico offers and the difference that helps to make in the state.
I didn't hear you, the Catholic Partnership?
Yes. Can you tell us more about Common Spirit St. Joseph's Children program and the difference that helps to make in the state?
Yes, the Common Spirit program that's run by Alan Sanchez there and his team is a marvelous program. It's really an ideal program. And it took a long time to set up, and it's been going for years and years. They visit about well over 600 families a week. They go to the families, and since the pandemic now, they've discovered they use Zoom a lot or some method of getting into the families digitally because they get easier access. People don't worry so much about having to clean the home or something before the visitor comes. But they give the families, the pregnant parents, best practices for the good health of their child. They help them with diet, nutrition, medicine, things of that nature, all free. It's all done free of charge. And not only that, but Alan has really spearheaded an effort by the Catholic Conference here in New Mexico to get a constitutional amendment, which we passed a few years ago. So we take 1.5% of that fund, the state fund, which used to be the second, I believe now it's the highest fund in the country. And that money is used for the same purpose, to help children from the womb to 3 years old. Our Alan's motto is a good one. He said, better put money in the playpen than the state pen. Wow. Help parents to know what to do, how to really raise their child in a healthy, wonderful way. And that's really, I think, in the long run, will help reduce poverty as well.
And in my final moment with you, we're having this discussion just 3 weeks after Pope Leo XIV released his first major papal document, De Lex Aetate, which is all centered on the topic of poverty. What can our Holy Father offer to American Catholics right now as we focus on caring for those who are impoverished?
Yes, I was really pleased by Pope Leo's apostolic exhortation. And what struck me was that he asks us not only to do for the poor, but to love the poor. That we don't just give them a handout, but that we truly love them and we work out of that love. That all of us in the presence of God, we're all poor. It's not like here you have the poor over here and we're over here. No, we're all poor in God's presence. We all need God's love, God's compassion, God's mercy. We're all vulnerable. And so we reach out to the poor out of love. And really, when we reach out to the poor, the Pope is telling us we're helping our own. We're helping our brothers and sisters in Christ.
Archbishop Wester, thank you so much for your time this week.
Thank you, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.